tell. It's gonna be a great Noel. It's the Advent Calendar House. Muppets, Batman, Smurfs, and even Garfield's Halloween. We're gonna take a trip down memory lane. Frosty, Rudolph, and a bunch you've probably never seen. It's Mike and pals that come to entertain. Turn the knob and lift the latch for fun and laughs that can't be matched. But just beware the icy patch. It's the Advent Calendar House.
Welcome back to the Advent Calendar House, the holiday podcast where being on fire for more than a week is a good thing. And by some miracle, we've discovered another Hanukkah special to watch, so take a spin with us back to 1988 to experience a bunch of puppets you'll never hear from again. Spend Hanukkah at Bubbe's. I am giant fuzzy camel puppet with a taste for false idols, Mike Westfall. And joining me is eerily familiar-looking delivery person I know I've seen before somewhere. Please welcome back April Riley. Hi, April.
Hi. You can call me, I'm just coming from Bubbe's boarding house.
Perfect. Good to have you back.
Thanks for having me back.
Oh, sure. You found this and sent it to me last year, almost immediately after we recorded the Wienerville special. Where'd you find this?
I honestly don't remember. I think somebody had posted it in a Facebook group, and it was right around the time that we recorded. So I was like, oh, you need to do this one, because I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is really, like, not just obscure, but this is just really kind of out there. So this takes it. I think this makes the Wienerville holiday or a Hanukkah special seem normal.
Yeah, more or less. Well, this is older. So you had not seen this before as a kid?
No, I have not.
No. Okay.
No. And apparently they've got other episodes. I think there's a Passover episode. So yeah, I've never heard of this. It's probably for the best.
I had not heard of this before. Quick description of what we're going to be talking about. Hanukkah at Bubbe's is a puppet special made in 1988. And at first I thought it was one of those things released directly to video as something you can order from a catalog or rent from a library. But it showed up in some archived newspaper TV listings, so it got some airtime on PBS stations through the 90s and even into the 2000s.
I have to say that it has aged pretty well. I feel like this was, I didn't realize it was that old. So when I was watching this, I got an older vibe from the Wienerville special last year than I did from this one. Yeah,
no, it was a good recording and it was a good quality upload that we found.
Yes.
But this thing is not on IMDb even, but people have seen this. And from what I've read on the internet, those who remember watching this as kids remember it pretty fondly.
Oh, that's, I watched it with my 7-year-old and I'm not sure she's going to have that same nostalgia.
No.
She will, but she found it pretty out there as well.
Okay. So, yeah, the first article I came up with when I searched for Hanukkah at Bubbe's is from 2014. It's written by current food writer for CNN Business, Danielle Wiener-Bronner. It was a very helpful post. It was on one of those old Gawker Media, sub sites. So
I would see it. Yeah, I can see it going down a sub. So you're going to have to dig through some subs to get
yeah, all the images were broken. It's an old Gawker sub site. So
yes,
they're in no hurry to fix any of that. But in particular, this article made a few puppet designs click for me after I watched this, because the puppets in this special were designed by David Silverman, the animator for The Simpsons.
That's it. Because I looked at them and I was like, a couple of those guys look like they could be out of The Simpsons. So that clicked too. Yeah, when you said that, I get it.
Some of these are dead ringers for Simpsons characters.
Yes.
And David Silverman, for those of you who are not familiar, he's been working on The Simpsons since before the beginning. He animated the original Tracy Ullman shorts and the pilot, Simpsons Roasting on an Open Fire, which we've talked about in the past episode. He directed several other episodes, The Simpsons movie, all the Maggie shorts that are now on Disney Plus, even that Loki one from this year. So he's a Simpsons lifer.
Yeah, I see it now. Yep.
And you can see his influence right away as we open in the kitchen of the titular Bubbe, a kind grandmotherly puppet. But the dead giveaway is this grocery delivery boy who comes in and looks unmistakably like a curly-haired Bart.
I thought he looked like the bus driver.
Oh, Otto? Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
The haircut and the sunglasses and kind of the way he talks. He's got that California accent.
I got this whole delivery of potatoes and apples and chickens and candles and dreidels, I think, something like that.
Mazel tov.
Yeah, so what are you doing? You like having a Christmas party or something?
No, we're getting ready for our Hanukkah party.
Oh, wow, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Maybe because like his long curly hair is blonde, I thought, oh, it's just curly-haired Bart, but he's got the same yellow skin that no one else in this special has besides one other puppet that I think is the same exact model.
Right. The one other puppet was the one who really stuck out to me as the Simpson. He wasn't a main character. He was kind of a background guy. But he was the one that I was like, oh, that looks exactly like Simpson.
Yeah, I think it might have actually been female because I think she was wearing like a blouse. Maybe, or could, yeah.
Or there may have been more than one because I thought I saw like a male kind of character. So there may have been the female one as well.
Perhaps. I don't know. This one had like a long reddish purple hair and it was not wearing sunglasses. It had the same circular eyes as you would expect from a Simpsons puppet.
Yes. But the rest of the puppets were a really odd mishmash of characters.
Oh, they're all over the place.
You had rats and sheep and camels.
There's a rhinoceros in there?
Right? Was there a dinosaur?
No, I think that was the rhino.
Okay.
They sang about a rhino. We'll get to that in a minute. Before we keep going, I do want to talk about some other names I recognized in the credits because there are some big ones. This special was written by 3 different guys. The first is Phil Barron, who was the voice of Teddy Ruxpin.
Oh, wow. That's a very interesting leap.
Yeah. He was also Piglet on the Disney Channel's Welcome to Pooh Corner, so that's where the puppetry comes in. And he worked on Muppets Tonight and The Adventures of Timmy the Tooth. And then we have Len Levitt, who also worked on Muppets Tonight, as well as Muppet Vision 3D at Walt Disney World and the Muppets 2011 movie. And then he did puppet work for movies like The Flintstones and Men in Black and Team America and the Happy Time Murders.
Okay.
And then the last name in the writing credits is Sean Cassidy, but not that Sean Cassidy.
Okay, I was going to say, really?
No, this is Sean Cassidy, who is apparently a longtime friend of Len Levitt's. The two were in a troupe together in high school called the Puppet Conspiracy, so they turned that into this gig.
Well, it worked out pretty well for him.
It did. So besides those 3 writers who also perform puppets in this, we have 2 other performers. Greg Bellora, who's another Muppets Tonight name I know. And then finally a name I brought up on this podcast before, Mona Marshall performs Bubby's granddaughter Muffin and some other female characters in this. I'm assuming it's the same Mona Marshall. That voice actress is Jewish. She was the voice on The Glow Friends and in the Real Ghostbusters Christmas episode, she was the ghost of Christmas Past. She's a bunch of voices on South Park, including Sheila Broflovsky. And she was like half the color kids in Rainbow Bright.
Okay. I know her best is so she would be Kyle's mom. And there are songs about her.
Never heard anything bad about her before. I don't know what you're talking about. But back to Bubby's and this delivery boy. Whoever's performing him has chosen this California surfer dude type accent. He's going through the groceries Bubby ordered, and he's got this whole delivery of potatoes and apples and chickens and candles. And what are you having, a Christmas party or something?
Right. Yeah. And dreidels.
Dreidels or whatever. Right.
Like, Hanukkah's not that obscure. Like,
we had a good streak going of not having to drag Christmas into the Hanukkah specials, but here we go. Not a minute and a half into this.
Luckily, I think that may have been the only Christmas mention, though, correct?
Yeah, no, after this, that's it.
Yeah, they go whole hog after this. Like, we get,
Which, good.
Yeah, it was authentic, I appreciate the authenticity.
Yeah, someone has to stand in and learn about Hanukkah in this special designed to teach children about Hanukkah.
Yes.
So this genuinely interested delivery boy serves that purpose.
It's a nice introduction.
Yeah. And we have the conversation, what do you do for Hanukkah? No, you have to when you say it.
Yes, this was very throaty.
So, like, what do you do for Chanukkah?
That's Hanukkah, dear.
Asks what the tops or whatever are, is what he called the dreidels. He thought they were tops. And we get the short 50-cent explanation for everything. And it sounds like totally fun. And then she pays him in gelt, and he goes, whoa, why should I feel guilty?
Because that's what we Jews do.
Not guilt, gelt. But they're interrupted by these two giant human-sized mice who just march in the kitchen before Bubbe shoos them out. They go, sorry, and they leave. And that's the segue into Bubbe explaining that she runs a boarding house, and those were a couple of her tenants. But they don't acknowledge that two giant mice just walked into their kitchen.
And it's very odd placement. It was just walk in and let's say a little thing and walk out. And it was very, but why?
That was the introduction of, other people live here. These two happen to be mice, but at least with the Muppets, when they do it, it's like, rats.
Right. There was a whole mishmash of things that live in this house.
There really was. And we get a song about it coming up right now, because in addition to everyone at the boarding house, Bubbe is expecting her grandchildren, and we cut to them. It's Zach and his little sister Muffin and their pal Chester, who they all appear to be walking literally over the river and through the woods.
To Bubbe's house they go.
Yes. The article I mentioned earlier compares Muffin to Lisa Simpson as far as her look goes, and I sort of see it if she had red hair, sure.
I would now that I realize there's that Simpsons connection, I don't know if I should waste 41 minutes of my life again, but I almost want to go back and try and compare a little bit more.
There are some screenshots. You can just find a group picture.
Okay.
But here they go. They're singing a song about Bubbe's boarding house.
Bubbe's boarding house. Bubbe's boarding house. If you love to learn, then you learn to love the place I'm thinking of.
Because this is the first of two specials. I could only find the two, Hanukkah and Passover. There's a third video that's just songs from those other two, and it's Sing Along with Bubbe. But that's it. That's all I could find. But it seems like with this theme song that they were trying to make it a whole series.
It does. It does feel like it was I thought maybe I was missing something. It felt like an explanation that ties everything in or ties in with other episodes that I should know. But it, again, felt very out of place. There was just the whole thing, just lots of things that piecemealed together. Not that made a 40-minute movie, but it didn't feel like any of it belonged together. No,
yeah, that's a good way of explaining it. It's a lot. This did not need to be 40 minutes. They could have knocked it down to like 25.
Right.
Put it on TV.
Yeah, I think, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we throw on some commercials and you've got your 30 minutes back.
Yeah. And there are times when it feels like it drags, but I've sure watched other things that felt like it dragged a lot more than this. Like it keeps a steady pace most of the time. It's a lot of scene changes that feel slow. Yes.
And it just feels very disjointed in all of it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no smooth transition. There are a lot of harsh transitions. Like, this is what we're going to do now. This is what we're going to do now.
Yep. The theme song also acknowledges have lunch with the rhinoceros or even a mouse at Bubbe's boarding house. So there they acknowledge that, there are mice. But that's going to be the theme of this special. We're going to see a bunch of wacky puppets and learn nothing about most of them.
Right. So I don't know if if there's only the Passover episode and there's only the sing-along, I guess we will never learn anything about them.
Nope.
Maybe it was something designed or geared towards Jewish kids. Yeah, kind of like a Sesame Street for Jewish kids.
Yeah, they had that.
But it just never took off because we're not a big population.
Right. That seems to be what they were trying to do. But I don't know. Ran out of ideas or ran out of money, or The Simpsons happened and David Silverman got busy and couldn't make any more puppets.
Right.
But
that Simpsons money started rolling in, so Bubbe had to go.
Oh, dear. But Zach, Muffin, and Chester arrive at Bubby's boarding house, and Muffin is so excited, talking about how awesome Hanukkah with Bubby is, saying last year she gave them both hats, and Chester really likes their hats. So much that he's embarrassed by his own.
Those are the greatest hats I've ever seen.
Your hat's great too, Chester. Now come on.
Yeah, but my hat doesn't match yours at all. I have a really bad hat.
And so we segue into the underlying theme of this entire episode.
Yeah, Chester really struggles with
Being himself.
That's going to be the theme going in. Right now he's wearing just a red and black yarmulke with some jewels on it. It's kind of perched on top of his weird wave of purple hair. But he's a puppet. Puppets have weird hair, and that's the best they could fit a Jewish yarmulke on him. But he's really upset about this, and he says, like, I have a bad hat.
Was his a kippah?
It looked like it.
Okay. I couldn't have, his looked a little more gestury. Like I noticed, what's Muffin's brother's name again?
Zach.
I noticed Zach's kippah, like his was obvious, but Chestnut, she called him Chestnut.
Because
I call him
she
Chestnut.
does. It's because his hair's all weird. It's got this weird flip going on, and it doesn't sit right on his head.
It's a real problem for, like, my son has curly hair, and it puffs out. So like we have clips. We have to clip it to his head.
Okay.
It just, like, sits on top of this massive hair.
Yeah, no, like Chester's hair doesn't appear curly. It's just this wave.
Yeah.
And they couldn't sit it right on the puppet's head, so they're just like, all right, just throw it on there.
It's on the side. It's almost like a beret. It's like positioned like a beret.
Kind of, yeah, because they couldn't get it right, and they just decided, let's go. We got to roll.
Right.
But for now, here comes a man selling hats and wearing a whole stack of them on top of his heads and shouting, get them while they're hat.
That's so awful.
He reminded me of, do you know that children's book, Caps for Sale?
Vaguely, yes.
Yeah, that might not be an accident. It's by a Jewish author.
Okay.
And it's from like 1940, and it's based on a folktale that's even older than that, so maybe. But at the top of this man's pile of hats is a purple wool knit cap that looks like his Chester's friend's, and that fits even worse on top of Chester's hair than his own hat. But whatever, he's ready to finally meet their bubble, is what he says.
My kids were like, Bubbe?
Oh dear.
Because like my mother, she goes by Dee Dee. So
okay,
they don't have a Bubbe, or Safta is another name for like a Jewish grandmother.
I've heard Bubby. I have not heard Safta.
So they're like, Bubbe.
Oh dear.
No, Bubbe.
Whoops. So Zach knocks on the door, and that rhinoceros he just sang about answers. He's wearing this wine-colored three-piece suit, saying, we don't want any, before Zach can finish talking, and shuts the door in a child's face.
Yeah, what do you want?
We're here to see.
We don't want any.
What?
We learn much later the rhino's name is Reinhardt, who answers the door again after Muffin knocks this time. He tells her to put him down for a box of chocolate chip, which is very rude.
But Chester does put him down for a box.
He does, yes. Were you ever a scout?
I was not, no.
No. Did you ever have to sell anything door to door and get shut in your face like that?
No. Luckily, I remember that kind of stuff coming home as a kid. And back in the day, it was common to go, now my kids come home with fundraisers and they actually say, don't go door to door.
Oh, really? Oh, good. Yeah, ours are all just online to family members. And
right now they do that. But I remember like when my oldest, who was 16, when he started coming home with it would be, don't go door to door with it.
Okay. It's probably for the best.
Yeah. Where I grew up, it wasn't an area to go door to door.
Okay.
Like I grew up in South St. Louis.
Okay. Yep.
So you don't go door to door in South St. Louis.
I remember having to sell dumb trinkets for Cub Scouts, and I hated it. I liked the box they came in. I wanted to keep the box, but I wasn't allowed.
Now they sell popcorn. Yeah, Cub Scouts sell popcorn.
Yep, outside Publix.
Yes.
They get me every time.
Like, I don't want your $5 bag of popcorn.
Oh. Anyway, Zach tries again, this time telling the rhino, hey, we know the secret password. What secret password? Well, I can't tell you that. It's a secret. And that tricks the rhino and everybody else in the living room into getting out because now they don't know the password. But the kids made it in, so problem solved.
It's actually, genius.
Next, we're back in the kitchen with Bubbe and a very stubborn and very interesting-looking puppet named Anton, who is very quickly established as the worst.
Give me this. Believe me, I know something about this. I used to make latkes professionally.
You mean you used to be a professional latke?
He really is. I thought at first, like, is this Bubby's, like, younger man friend?
He's got the shirt for it. He's got this very 80s looking button-up shirt. It is the most 1988 button-up shirt I've ever seen. It's orange and a navy blue pattern that looks like he's going to an art show.
And he's like, kind of like a over-the-top Italian Jay Leno.
Yes. He's got the largest chin I've ever seen on a puppet.
Yes.
He looks like an angry pink moai from Easter Island with a giant chin.
Yes, he does.
Anton is a tacky man who's arguing with Bubbe about making latkes and is only interrupted by the arrival of Bubby's grandchildren and Chester, who runs in. They all run in and hug her, including Chester, who apparently doesn't know how to hug and tackles an old woman to the ground.
Repeatedly.
Twice, yes. She's fine, but wow.
Zachary! Let me look at you. You need a haircut. Muffin! How I missed you.
Bubbe!
Who are you?
This is Chester. Chester, this is Bubbe.
Bubbe!
And Anton did not stand up for Bubbe.
No, he doesn't stand up for anybody except himself.
Right.
And he is insistent on making tomato latkes instead of potato ones.
Not sure how you'd fry those with that water content.
Yeah, like at first I'm thinking, I might want to try one, but you can't make them the same.
You can't grate a tomato,
No, you can't substitute it in there for potatoes and have that work at all. But if you could make some kind of similar pancake thing that tastes like tomato soup, I wouldn't turn that down.
I mean, they get creative with latkes. Like, I've seen beet latkes.
Really?
Potato latkes. Yeah, I would never touch a beet latke.
I might.
But the sweet potato latkes I've seen, they get pretty far out there nowadays with the fancy things. But I'm a Manischewitz girl all the way.
There you go. Well, Bubbe is clearly fed up, but decides to be civil by allowing Anton to make his tomato latkes, and she'll make her potato ones and let everyone have their choice. But Anton won't hear it. He keeps saying they're going to do things his way. And already I see exactly where this is going to head.
We're heading to Antioch.
Yeah.
He is Antioch.
It's right there in the name.
Yeah.
Well,
Anton, Antiochus, I get it now.
Yeah. Oh, yep. Well, Bubbe brings her grandchildren out of the kitchen to find them a room. But Anton keeps Chester behind to help him because Chester heard Anton claim he was an expert and believed him because he said so. There's a joke that didn't age well.
No. Why we are where we are.
Oh, yeah. I should mention this whole time we're in the kitchen, various other puppets are peeking in through the window from outside, and it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, they're still waiting outside because they don't know the password.
Right. Oh, that's right. It's mostly sheep and mice out there just peeking in for what I thought were no reason, but no, it's because they're trying to get in now because they don't know the password. They don't do anything to enhance the scene. I guess they just needed something happening out of the window for no reason.
It's very the whole scene is does nothing to enhance the scene.
I guess not. Let's introduce one more character for 5 minutes. And now we're in the living room where we see two guys who are maintenance men at the boarding house, kind of getting ready for the Hanukkah party. We saw them outside earlier painting. Now they're building something with a couple of pieces of wood that's apparently supposed to be a Hanukkah sign when they're done.
Which is, and one thing about the Hanukkah sign is, it's a reminder that there's 6,000 different ways to spell Hanukkah.
Yes. So in this special, it spells it with a C in the beginning.
Chanuk. A.
Yeah. No H at the end.
Nope.
Or the beginning.
No, and no double K. Sometimes you see a double K in there.
Right. That's the one where do you stand on it?
I am HANUKKAH.
Yeah, that seems to be the general consensus of, I think, every Jew I know.
Yeah.
But all of these specials in the 90s were really on Team C, and this one in the 80s dropped the H at the end.
Well, I think that the Team C is really trying to hammer home that the throaty huff sound.
Okay, yeah, well, and Bubbe certainly is, so
Yes,
we'll give that to her.
because I think over time it is now that it's spelled mostly with an H, people don't realize the true phonetics of it in terms of Hebrew.
Could be.
It actually is in Hebrew. It's got the letters called chaf, and it's sound it makes. Ha.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yes. So I think it's trying to hold on to our sound.
Well, yeah. You gotta when you say it.
My kids hate making that sound. My kids have to, my second daughter is going through, she's having her bat mitzvah over this Hanukkah. Actually.
Oh, yay.
And she hates trying to make that sound. And so a lot of her Torah portion it includes, obviously, if you're speaking Hebrew, it includes that sound. And she's like, I'm not making that sound. Just because I'm like, just say, huh. It's not the end of the world if you don't spit on people.
Well, that's good that they're not sticklers about it at a bat mitzvah.
No, they're not.
Okay, good.
It's probably not best to spit on people in this.
No, please don't. No. Also in the living room is a girl at the piano named Zelda playing the piano badly. She's another very Simpsons-looking puppet.
She was actually scary.
Yeah, because she's got this dark gray skin.
And she's like, just like the way her arms are playing this piano is a little terrifying.
Only her arms are moving. Only her forearms are moving.
Yes.
Like her hands don't move with the keys. The rest of her body, that's how they do. It's almost a marionette sort of puppet, but you don't see strings at all.
No, none of the puppets are very well done. You can see a lot of hand move, when he's playing the dreidel, when Anton is playing the dreidel, you can see the hand, actively moving.
Right.
But yeah, she was by far the worst.
I would say so. Her job is just to play the piano and not move.
Right.
But other than that, the puppets look great, and you can definitely tell which styles David Silverman would later use in his animation career.
Yes.
But this is another very quick scene that sort of drags on just so we can establish we're getting ready for a party. And then we're back in the kitchen for Anton to sing a song called My Way, but not that My Way.
My way. Do it my way. On every highway. They'll do it my way.
That for this being the first song, it was weird. Like I feel like I'm on repeat with this, but it was just like, why are we doing this right now? Like I can understand the other songs, but why are we here? How did we get here?
We need Anton to be stubborn through song, and so
He was.
He sings My Way. It's a very different My Way, but at the same time, they know what they're doing, and you can sort of tell.
Yeah.
It's like bad Casio keyboard, public domain song My Way.
Yeah.
And to really drive the point home in this song, in comes a flock of sheep in a chorus line. And they all have these same dizzy, crossed eyes about them.
Yeah.
And at the end of the song, Anton accidentally spills his tomato latkes, blames it on Chester, tells him to get a sponge, and the sponge gives him an idea, which we're left to ponder on our own because we cut back to Bubbe, who just noticed her usually bustling living room is nearly empty. So she finds everybody outside, and they all start shouting random words, trying to guess the secret password.
Rumpelstiltskin.
Yes. And instead of trying to figure out what's even happening, she blows a whistle she's wearing around her neck like a football coach, tells them all to huddle up, calmly tells them to go back in the house, and knock off this funny business.
She's running a boarding house. It's a tight ship here.
Oh, yeah. She runs a tight ship. I like Bubbe. I like her attitude where she is no nonsense the whole time.
But she's also very grandmotherly.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
She juggles both sides of herself very well.
Yes.
And everybody rushes back inside. And again, Bubbe gets trampled.
Poor Bubbe.
They keep going back to tackle the old lady bit. But so now we're back inside, and it's starting to look and feel more like a party. And I will add, the crew made it a point to dim the lights outside the windows to show that it's slowly getting darker and we're getting closer to sundown, which I appreciated.
Yes.
It's a nice touch. Everybody's having fun. The volume of Muffin's voice is especially loud in this scene for some reason.
Happy Hanukkah! Oh, where's Bubbe? Oh, this is great!
I don't think I noticed that.
It felt like they just gave her the loud microphone, I guess. But she
I
tells...
feel like she was amazing. I feel like she was like that the entire...
Could have been.
Yeah.
I noticed it the most here.
Okay.
It felt like she was talking over everybody else, but she didn't mean to be.
Right.
But she tells Bubbe she wishes they could celebrate Hanukkah every night. And that leads into Bubbe singing a song about why it's a special time with lots of remember and a beautiful sight.
At Hanukkah we remember the valiant Maccabees who wouldn't let oppression take away what they believed. When the rulers of the empire said they could not be Jews, they said we'll practice our religion just as we choose.
This is okay.
Yeah, but which it always brings me back to, they're celebrating the 8th night of Hanukkah. And
They are.
And I understand that they probably do have more of a scene with an entire eight candles lit. Because I remember they did this in the Rugrats special too. But the parties usually happen on the first night of Hanukkah. By the 8th night of Hanukkah, we're tired of frying things.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, like I know our parties are, or anything we do is first night, second night. By the third night, it's like, okay, we'll light the candles and have the presents, but
You're not going to make a big deal of it.
It's so greasy in this house,
Yeah, sure. I can see that.
Yes.
But this is a cute Hanukkah song for kids, but it's an earworm.
I think I blocked that out.
Oh, it's been in my head for days, so I cannot blame any Jewish kid from the 80s who has spent the last 30 years trying to figure out where this song is from. You're welcome.
Wasn't the dreidel song, was it?
No, it's the song.
No, see, my earworm is the dreidel song.
Well, yeah. No, this is their low-key song. It's a beautiful sight.
Yes.
Maybe it's an earworm because they play it a few times in this special.
Yes.
But after the song, Anton and Chester come out of the kitchen to their own fanfare and announce the great latke taste test. And they present a plate full of bright red tomato latkes that look like sliced beets.
They look like a little paper circle.
Yeah. And a pile of what I know to be sponges because I saw them from earlier.
Yes.
April, what did you say was an actual debate concerning latkes? Was it applesauce and sour cream?
Yes, it is. Because applesauce and sour cream are the typical, what you would dip a latke in. And my son will use applesauce. I think it's an abomination. It's a potato, What do you put on a baked potato? You put sour cream. You wouldn't put applesauce on your loaded baked potato.
I know people who dip French fries into applesauce. So
I know people who dip French fries into Frosties. So I guess there's that sweet and sour aspect.
Could be.
But
I would be a sour cream guy as well.
I am fully sour cream. Full disclosure, my latkes are never even close to kosher. I like to put bacon and cheese as well. So in my latke mix, I mix bacon bits and cheese, which so we're going meat and cheese, which is a no-no, and then we're going pork, which is a no-no. So I'm going full in here on not kosher, and so it's I call them they're my loaded latkes. So it's sour cream. You wouldn't put applesauce in a loaded latke.
No, I would not. Sounds really good, though, I gotta say.
They actually are. Like, I will eat them. I will make them during the year, like not often, but I've made them in April. I've made them I think last Thanksgiving, I was on my own because my family went out of town. And I had to stay home for, I don't remember what reason, but I made latkes on Thanksgiving.
Okay. Nice. I like that debate better is where I'm getting at here.
Yes.
But everyone here tries a tomato latke, and everyone hates them so much that they toss them away. Because if there's one visual gag puppeteers love, it's throwing things. We get that a few times here, too. But even Bubby's got an arm on her. She nails Anton with one in the chin.
Well, the chin's not hard to miss.
I was going to say, now that I say that out loud, that's not a hard target.
Right.
But Zach and Muffin clearly recognize that the second group of latkes totally are not latkes. And Anton takes that as a victory, making up numbers now that 73% of those surveyed prefer his tomato latkes.
And 82% of people who didn't try them.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of political commentary I was not expecting in a kid's special. They're going after fake polls and self-proclaimed experts with no credentials.
Sounds familiar.
It sounds familiar. I kind of enjoy it. Teach them early not to listen to people who are full of themselves.
Right. What is it? Abraham Lincoln once said that 73% of statistics are made up on the internet.
Right.
I failed again.
How about me, Master?
Hi there. My name is Teddy Ruxpin. How are you today?
Fine.
Well then, I would like to
Teddy Ruxpin, the world's first animated storytelling bear. Now available at stores everywhere.
Dreidel, I made it out of clay.
And the next scene is Anton playing dreidel and winning every game because all four sides of his dreidel have Gimel on them.
And he made it himself.
He did. Have you ever seen someone try and cheat at dreidel?
No, I have not. I think he may have given my 7-year-old a couple ideas. So we'll see what happens this year.
I didn't know if there was like a side, like people getting sneaky with the dreidel.
Well, for my kids, like they don't have the attention span to sit and play repeatedly. So it's more like a couple of spins, eat the gelt. That's that's it. They're not going to keep playing for, they keep playing for, bigger pot, or it's not going to be a long 10, 15-minute game. It's, a couple of spins.
Yeah, man. There's chocolate in front of me. I'm not going to not eat it.
Right.
Well, Anton doesn't want to play anymore if he can't win every time, so he walks away in a huff while Zach's trying to explain the letters on each side. And I like Muffin's jokes here.
See, on this side, here's a nun. No, wait a second. There's a different letter on every side.
Wait, a nun? I thought nuns were Catholic.
And on this side is a hay, and hay is for...
Horses!
I think I missed that one. I think I missed that part because my daughter is mildly obsessed with what the letters on what they mean. Mm-hmm. So she's known that. I think that's probably the only Hebrew phrase she actually knows is Neskadal Hayasham.
Okay.
She's very proud of it. So during these parts, she, is repeating Neskadal Hayasham.
Sure. Yep. And this is exactly the part that she'd be into because Zach calls Bubby to help because he just gets frustrated by Muffin's jokes. And we get the story of the great miracle that happened there. They do not get into the part where dreidels in Israel stand for a great miracle happened here, which I only found out since starting this podcast, and that's neat.
It says Neskadal Hayapo.
Yes.
Which means a great miracle happened here. And I did not learn that from any conventional wisdom. I learned that from Maya Bialik and her YouTube video on Hanukkah.
Oh, really?
Yes. She has a YouTube video. She's got a YouTube series just basically breaking down I think she's got every Jewish holiday covered. And one of them Hanukkah.
Speaking of Maya Bialik, give her the Jeopardy job.
Right. I wouldn't be opposed to LeVar Burton.
I wouldn't be. I think Maya Bialik did a better job than LeVar Burton did, but I was happy to see him there.
Yes.
Also neat, Bubby says the story began in the year 167 before our era, and this might be the earliest show I've heard that phrase used.
It really, I think, didn't back then they used to refer to it, because I grew up always thinking BC meant before Christ.
Right.
But it's the before Common Era.
Right.
And so I think that maybe they want to shy away from the whole before Christ thing on the Jewish special.
Sure, I understand that part.
Right.
But I didn't hear before the Common Era until the 90s.
Yeah, I didn't hear it until well into the 2000s.
Okay.
Yeah.
But so this is what I'm saying is I didn't expect to hear this in an 80s special.
Yes. Yeah, it is ahead of its time.
So yeah.
In some respects.
There you go. And Muffin so innocently asks Bubby, how old were you then? Have your kids ever asked you how old you were when watching something set way before your time?
They asked me, were things in black and white? Like they think life in general was in black and white.
Oh dear.
Not just like because if they've seen little snippets of older TV, it was in black and white. So they think back then life was just black and white.
It's like
we didn't get color until the 60s, sweetie.
Yeah, that's how a Calvin and Hobbes strip goes when it's one of those his dad's just trolling him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we might have been watching Back to the Future and it's 1955. And were you alive, Dad? No, I was not. Your grandparents were tiny babies.
Right.
So we now cut to ancient Israel with all the puppets in Bubby's boarding house playing parts in a busy marketplace. And Bubby is standing in for Mattathias here because she's telling the story, so fine. There's a very impressive, very fuzzy-looking giant camel puppet that I just want to give a hug.
Who apparently likes to eat false idols.
Yes.
I mean...
So the merchant selling the false idols now go, camel food, get your camel food.
For drachmas.
4 drachmas.
The false idols were 3 drachmas, but once the camel eats it in their camel food, it's 4 drachmas.
Yeah, well, it's supply and demand.
Yes.
And of course, Anton is standing in for, well, they pronounce his name Antiochus in this special.
Yeah, I've always heard Antiochus.
So have I. Okay. Because I checked Wikipedia and it just lists both, so that wasn't helpful.
Right.
I will continue using Antiochus here.
Same.
Actually, before he takes the stage, the Rhino character acts as his herald, trying to get the Jewish crowd to quiet down and listen, threatening arrest and torture, and neither of those work, so he says, well, then you'll have to listen to Antiochus make proclamations all day, and that shuts up everybody. So Anton, as Antiochus, starts reading a list of things the Jews can no longer believe in, and it's in the form of a rhyming alphabet poem.
I really appreciate the alliteration.
Yeah. It's like a bad heel promo.
Because I giggled at it. I remember laughing at it. But
it's great.
A is for ark, which never was floating. A's for atonement. That day's verboten.
That's what popped me tonight because I was with Yom Kippur is on Thursday.
Yes, we're recording this right before Yom Kippur.
Yes, Yom Kippur is on Thursday. I'm like, we have to atone.
A is for Abraham. Forget his kin. A's for Antiochus. Hooray for him! I'm on a roll.
I love you.
Yeah. B's for bar mitzvah, and that is forbidden. And B's for your Bible. Forget it was written. C is for candles you can no longer light. D is for daven. No praying, all right?
It reminded me, how far back in wrestling history do you go?
Early 90s.
Okay, so you remember the Big Boss Man's terrible poem about Big Show's dead father?
I don't remember that. I remember I was around for Big Boss Man and Big Show, but I don't remember that.
It was bad. It was something like, yeah.
He lived a full life on his own terms. Soon he'll be buried and eaten by worms.
Late 90s, like mid to late 90s, in general was
awful. Well, naturally, Antiochus' list of what Jews aren't allowed to do anymore is met with lots of boos and jeers. So he reads them a much shorter list of what they can do. Be Greek. That's the list. And Chester's standing in for a member of the crowd who's willing to hear him out. But Bubby, as Mattathias, has had enough, tells the crowd they can't just stop being Jewish just because someone tells them to. That's not a reason to stop being yourselves.
Name.
Yeah, and as they flee the city, we dissolve back to Bubby's as she explains how more people joined them outside the city, and soon there were a whole army ready to fight for their religion's freedom and their right to be themselves. And that's how she explains it, and that comes in for another song cue.
Be yourself, no matter where the wind blows.
Be yourself, whatever you do.
Someone else can never be you.
Before you look at me, look inside and be yourself.
Was it's not a great soundtrack.
This is an early childhood special, it feels like.
I appreciate the song, and I appreciate the underlying underlying theme, and that it's not, you have a little more that can reach other people that aren't necessarily Jewish. So it's not, more big, even if you're not Jewish, being yourself is important.
Yes, absolutely. And during the song, we see Chester struggling with this. He puts on a pair of mouse ears. Bubby shakes her head at him. And then he puts what's supposed to be a rhinoceros horn on his nose. At first, I thought it was a party hat, but when I watched it again, I realized it's a paper cup like you'd get a snow cone in.
Oh, okay.
Between this and the hat thing outside, this kid's really having trouble figuring out how to express himself, but also how not to worry about what others think of him.
That's a typical problem.
Because, saying be yourself, especially in the context of religious freedom, is a very delicate line. I think they do a pretty good job here.
Yes, it's especially hard. Being Jewish in general and being yourself can be difficult. I live in the South, and my kids run into this a lot. Even my 10-year-old, half the time, is like, I don't want to be Jewish, because she doesn't know anybody else other than people who go to our synagogue. She doesn't know anybody else who is Jewish, that goes to school with her. So after we leave the synagogue, she didn't know it. She didn't have anybody. So my kids struggle. My son is fine, but my 12-year-old and my 10-year-old struggle just with having their identity, but that making them an other, if that makes sense.
Oh, it makes perfect sense, because I've heard other Jewish friends use that phrase, that feel like they're being othered.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's you want to be proud, but at the same time, it's everywhere you turn, especially here, you can be met with some resistance.
Yeah, it can be very unfriendly, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And especially at their age, that's the prime age of when you would struggle with being yourself and what you're becoming.
My older daughter just started middle school. And so she's walking that fine line of doing, honoring herself, and it goes beyond just being Jewish. She likes to shop at Hot Topic, but I guess the big thing now is the big thing now for kids like her, they call her emo at school, and she doesn't like being called emo, but she really likes the clothes she wears. So I'm like, you're either going to have to pick making yourself happy and wearing these clothes, or not being called emo, I guess. I don't see the insult. I guess maybe it's insulting nowadays, but
I'm more surprised they know the word emo.
Yeah, it's more. I think emo has replaced the word goth.
Oh.
What was goth back in our day is now emo for them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
so it's kind of like they're not full on, chokers and the spiky hair kind of, but they shop at Hot Topic. So I guess that's goth emo.
Yeah, I feel like we're coming up on a 90s nostalgia.
I just bought a pair of flare jeans the other day.
Did you? Hey, all right.
They're coming back.
So back in the kitchen now, Anton is cooking something, turns the stove all the way up and leaves, while Bubby brings in everybody else to make applesauce. So they're on Team Applesauce. She gives everybody a job using a child's plastic chalkboard like a football coach again, going over the play as best as a puppet can draw on a chalkboard while holding it anyway. And Reinhard the Rhino is there to core the apples with his horn. And impressively, the crew of this special seems to have done this ahead of time, so all they have to do is stick his horn right through the middle of the apple and the core pops right out. That was well done. And Chester tries to do the same with his fake rhino paper cup horn and only ends up hurting himself. And here is where Zach tries to comfort him, saying Hanukkah is about being who you are. Going back to what we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure being a rhinoceros is fine.
You bet it is, buddy.
But being what you really are is fine too.
Reminds me of the Muppets trying to console Gonzo when he gets down about being a whatever.
I don't recall that. I was not a big Muppet person. Muppet Christmas Carol is like the extent of it.
No? Okay. Every once in a while it happened. It happened on Muppet Babies a few times, and then Muppets from Space is mostly that.
Okay.
But that reminds Muffin that Bubbe never finished telling the Hanukkah story, so we dissolve back to find Zach standing in as Judah Maccabee, trying to keep a starving group camped out in the wilderness from fighting with each other because they're hungry.
And they have a bean.
They have a bean. We get the joke. Dinner's ready. Let me guess. Beans again? No, bean.
Bean.
One bean.
Just one.
But thankfully, help arrives in the form of supplies from a nearby village, and they're reminded their fight wasn't just for themselves, but for all Jews. But then they dissolve back. When we get to the part about the miracle of the burning oil, Bubbe mentions she can almost smell it now. Because remember when somebody turned the oven up all the way?
Anton was trying to burn them all to death for using applesauce.
Oh. He got one thing right.
His plan was arson.
Oh, lovely. And that's why we don't have any more Bubbe's Boarding House specials.
Right. It's just an abrupt end with a fire and some sirens. The smell of burnt puppet.
We do hear sirens, but it's not the fire department. It's just Bubbe with a fire helmet and an extinguisher to stop Anton's cooking latkes from burning down the house. And it turns out not only did he swap potatoes with tomatoes, he also doesn't cook them with oil. You know, the whole reason you do this on Hanukkah.
Right.
And Bubbe just leaves him there as she brings everyone else out who actually wants to listen to her finish the story in the dining room. And next we see the violence of war with more throwing things. This time it's just spears being tossed from off screen by nobody in every direction at nobody. Just a bunch of sticks flying in an empty battlefield. It's fantastic. That is their abbreviation of the entire Maccabean revolt, because the next thing we see is a white flag being raised, and that's the end of it.
I'm glad years of struggle were reduced to throwing some sticks.
Yeah. But now the Jews are left with cleaning up the mess left behind, and this 1988 special's depiction of a desecrated temple is the words "Antiochus was here" written in graffiti on the door in dripping red spray paint. I like that touch. I kind of want to see a version of this that looks like the movie The Warriors now.
Or like Escape from New York.
Escape from New York. Oh, yes, make that.
Or Escape from Antiochus.
Yes, Escape from the Greeks. Well, the Chester equivalent in ancient Jerusalem, who has been equally wishy-washy about this whole revolt, now asks, can we just use that building over there? And Muffin's counterpart tells him, no, this is our temple, let's clean it up. And now we dissolve back into Bubbe's dining room, and now Anton is listening, and he wants to know what all of that has to do with oil anyway. So she explains the miracle of the oil, and we cut to a very old lamp as she goes through how the light was still burning on the second day, and on the third day, and all the way up through the 8 nights of Hanukkah. And we cut to an actual puppet hand lighting real candles on a real menorah with real fire.
Real felt hands.
Yeah.
Real flammable hands.
That's how much faith this crew had in this special. They let their felt puppets use fire. I'm impressed. A+.
Yes.
All the puppets except Anton sing the blessings over the candles.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Chanuka.
I always appreciate that little bit. There's also a movie out there. Oh, and it's got Joey Lawrence in it, and it's like, I don't know if it's a Hallmark, but it's a like a Christmas Hanukkah thing where he pretends to be Jewish, and he goes to her parents' house, and she's Jewish, and they're pretending to date, and they say it there. So it's nice hearing a little bit of it, and it's accurate. I can attest to that. So
good. Yeah, they do follow it up with Zach and Muffin saying them again in English, but they took the time to do both because it's important. So again, A+.
Yes.
And then Zach bursts out his guitar that we haven't seen before for an encore of that beautiful sight song.
We light up the candles every night. It's a beautiful sight.
And then everyone sits down, but not Anton. He doesn't want to. He now thinks Hanukkah's a dumb holiday with dumb candles, and he doesn't want to eat their latkes. And he tries to get Chester to leave with him, but finally Chester puts his foot down.
Anton,
Come on, Chester, I'm waiting.
Anton, all day long I've been trying to fit in by being like other people. That's not what the Maccabees would have done. Now I know that I should just be me and be proud of what I am. I'm Jewish, and I like Hanukkah. When we light the menorah candles, I feel good inside. So I'm gonna stay right here and celebrate Hanukkah with my friends.
Yay! Good for you!
So good on you, Chester.
The miracle of Hanukkah.
There you go. The whole time I was expecting Anton to be the one to have the face turn, but it was Chester who really needed it.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Well, Anton was pretty far. He was lost.
Yeah. He does eventually get over it and join them at the end, admitting, hey, these do smell pretty good. But he follows it up with more nagging, like I can always taste them and see where you went wrong.
Right. But that's Anton.
Nope, I guess giving people a chance to change sometimes can only go so far.
Right.
But good news, Zach saved Chester's hat. And it still fits lousy, but it's his hat, and he'll wear it how he wants. And we get a reprise of Be Yourself.
Be yourself, no matter where the wind blows.
With Chester and other random puppets around the table.
Rats and sheep and rhinoceri. Right. Just one rhinoceros.
Just the one. That one random woman we don't know anything about, but she's got this weird, perfectly middle part in her hair.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about her, but there she is. She gets like a solo at the end.
She was the Rumpelstiltskin lady.
Yes. And that's pretty much the end of the special. The very last scene is a single sheep and a single mouse with sunglasses still outside trying to guess the fake secret password that doesn't exist well after sundown. And they keep it going as the credits roll, finally ending with a happy Hanukkah. We never find out whether that gets them inside because we just fade to black. But what a bizarre but cute little special, April. Thank you for sharing this.
Yes, it was. I can't say it's anything that's going to become a staple in our house, but I appreciated it.
Yeah, I feel like this definitely has nostalgia on its side for anybody who does remember growing up with it, at least from what I've read on the internet.
Well, it's probably how I feel about the Rugrats Hanukkah special, because that was what I had,
Mm-hmm.
So, and in 88, I was only 5.
Right.
Unless I was probably too young for it to be on my radar when early 90s, I was older, and we had cable television. So I have the nostalgia for the Rugrats Hanukkah special. So I look back on that, and even watching it nowadays, it holds up well for me.
Yes. And the people who remember this, it holds up well enough for them, and they have nothing but fond things to say about it. So
yes.
Well, if you want to watch this, it's not terribly difficult to find, but if you go searching it, remember how it's spelled with no H at the end or the beginning.
Or you can actually, I searched up Bubbe's Boarding House.
Oh, yeah, yep, that's easier.
Mm-hmm.
Bubbe, folks.
Yes, so no odd spelling of boarding house.
No. But thank you again. Always great to talk with you.
Yes, we'll have to do this again next year. I'll see what other special I can do.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to it.
We're going to like all 3 of the Hanukkah specials.
Yeah, we got the big ones, but now we're getting into the obscure stuff, which should be interesting.
Yes.
But until then, if people want to answer your own front door for you and put you down for a box of cookies, where can they find you on the internet?
You can find me on Instagram at Mother Christmas Cosplay. And then I am also on Twitter. Where to next April? 2 as in the number 2. So where number 2 next April?
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I hope y'all had a happy Hanukkah this year. You can find show notes for all the tangents we went on at adventcalendar.house, and I'm on Twitter at FallWestMike. Tune in for yet another exciting holiday special in a couple of days. Until then, for April Riley, from my increasingly dark and very crowded dining room, this is Mike Westfall saying, please watch out for that icy patch. And there's no password, just knock on the dang door. Later.
We light the menorah, the Hanukkah. It's a beautiful sight.
And now, these messages.
Hi, I'm Justin.
And I'm Amy.
And we're the hosts of the Cool Kids Club podcast, a new show dedicated to everything we love and remember from our shared childhoods.
Every episode, we will take you on a nostalgia-fueled journey back to the glory days of the 80s, 90s, and beyond.
Whether it's toys, pop culture, junk food, or fashion, no topic is too cool for the Cool Kids Club.
So check out the Cool Kids Club podcast with America's favorite siblings, Justin and Amy, coming very soon wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Cool Kids Club Pod.
Next time on the Advent Calendar House.
Toyland's been captured by an evil wizard, and it could mean the end of Christmas.
Toyland is mine! I'll never give it up!
But guess who's coming to the rescue?
The Care Bears.
The Care Bears?
It's the world television premiere of the Care Bears Nutcracker Suite.